Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it's an honor and a privilege to have you guys joining me here as we talk about our favorite things. Bunch of virtual friends standing around a virtual water cooler talking about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all sorts of good stuff like that. And this is the show where all we do is just take live open questions. And you guys have already been sending in a whole ton of them. So let's get things started right away. And we get things started with Adam Griffin, who writes, any thoughts on another marathon for a charity of your choosing? It's been over 4 years since the one for the Philippines. Doesn't have to be a 24-hour one. Yeah, I just kind of been waiting. It's funny because Ann and I were talking about that like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And trying to think of a good cause for it. We'll have to see. I mean, the last one nearly killed me. It sounds like I'm joking, but it nearly killed me. The last one, because after I did it, I got so brutally sick. I was like off work for 2 months almost. Like it was just like crazy stuff. But yeah, I am going to do it definitely. I just don't know when or for what yet. If you guys have any ideas, by all means, feed me your ideas. I'd love to hear the ideas because I am more than willing to do that. Daryl Best Wadley writes, are you looking forward to the Black Lightning finale? Very much. Like I can't believe how much I like this show. It's really, really good. I've been enjoying it a lot. They have a nice pace to it. They're not going too fast through the story. Like, they're almost at the end of season 1, and the one daughter's only starting to discover her powers. So, like, I think other shows may have tried to rush through it, but they didn't. It's a good pace. I like the backstory. I love the main characters. Yeah, and so the only thing I'm not looking forward to about the Black Lightning season finale is that it means the season's over. So, yeah, there you go. All right, next one comes to us from Mason Barr, who writes, Hulk 2008 was on TV last night, and now my 2-year daughter won't stop saying Hulk smash. Not my favorite MCU character, but it's a start. She also loves Spidey. That's awesome. I would love to see a picture or video of your daughter saying Hulk smash. That's a good one to get into. And you know, as maligned as the Hulk films are, a little bit, they really were kind of like the groundwork for what the MCU would become, right? And they did a lot of things in those movies that they learned lessons from and they built on and they went forward from there. So it's all good, but yeah, that's kind of funny. I love Hulk smash. That's great. Rodrigo Ortiz writes, Affleck got so much unnecessary shit when he was cast for Batman. In my opinion, best Batman I've ever seen. When he leaves, no hard feelings here. He doesn't owe fans anything. It's some of the fans that owe him an apology. Yeah, he took an awful lot of crap. Like, I still remember, like, what especially makes me laugh is that I don't have a short memory. Like, I remember when he was cast, you know what, let me even see if I can, let me see if I got this. See if I can bring this up. But I remember when he was cast, the amount, like the shitstorm that he got and the amount of like jokes and people were saying, ha ha ha, like this is so stupid. And this one, I mean, so I just took a second to pull this one up because this one made the rounds all over the place online, right? And they said, we don't need you, we'll get Affleck, ah, and everybody laughing at Ben Affleck. And I remember how much shit I got because I got online the day they announced Ben Affleck as Batman. I got online. I did a video like 10 minutes after they announced it, and I said, this is brilliant. This guy will be a great Batman. And blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, all these fake bandwagon DC fans years later who accused me of hating DC when at the time they were all the ones laughing about Ben Affleck and crying that they cast Ben Affleck and all this kind of stuff. He only gave us the best Batman we ever had in Batman vs. Superman. And part of the reason why I get so worked up about the DCU stuff, besides the fact that I want them so desperately to succeed and I see them not succeeding, is the fact that they botched having Ben Affleck. Like, you got one of the best directors in the business right now, and he's not directing. You got the best Batman we've ever had, and you're totally mismanaging it. You've clearly botched the relationship, and that just really pisses me off. But you're right. No, he doesn't owe the fans anything. What Ben Affleck owes the fans is to give the best performance he can as Batman, and he did that in Batman vs. Superman. I didn't like what they did with the character in Justice League, but the Batman he gave us in Batman vs. Superman, I think is the best Batman we've ever had on screen. And that's all he owed us. He owed us giving us his best, and he did it. And a lot of the fandom repaid him with giving him a lot of shit. And the sad Affleck stuff and all this kind of nonsense. And hey, you know what? It's the fan's rights. It is the right of the fan to respond however to a piece of entertainment, to laud it with love and adulation, or to hate it. I mean, that's everybody's right. But yeah, at the end of the day, Affleck doesn't owe anybody anything. And hey, if a miracle happens and he and Warner Brothers can work something out and he comes back, awesome. If everything stays as it is and he's not going to be back, oh well, at least we got him playing Batman and Batman vs. Superman. So that's just my thought. All right, let's move on here. Next one comes to us from Jabin Carter, who writes, spoiler, John Campea dies in Infinity War and then comes back to life and then goes off to get his own spin-off TV shows, Agents of Filthy. I'm on board. Sign me up. I'll do it. Put me in. It might be a little bit late. Screw that. We got like 2.5 weeks. They can still shoot a bonus scene with me. We got a couple of weeks. They can shoot a scene with me. No problem. Get it put into the main film. I'm all on board for it. Ben Rayner writes, over or under 30% colony in Ocean's 8? I don't know what that means, to be honest with you. I have no idea what we're talking about. Lee Mallison writes, do films like Fury Road, Ready Player One, and Blade Runner 2049 struggle to make money due to playing second fiddle to Marvel Disney on podcasts like this despite being better? No. It's just they don't appeal to people. They just don't have the same appeal. Like when you talk about podcasts like this one, like you're barking up the wrong tree, Lee. I don't know how much more I could have talked about Ready Player One. I don't know how much more I could have talked about it. Like I talked about Ready Player One till I was blue in the face. I did a review. I talked about it incessantly on the show. Whenever it comes up, I talk about it incessantly. Blade Runner, I didn't think was that good. Sorry, let me rephrase. I didn't think Blade Runner 2049 was that good. Like I thought it was good. I liked it, but I didn't think it was nearly as good as some people made it out to be. Fury Road, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was great. I didn't think it was a top 5 film of the year. Some other people did. But no, like, you got to remember, podcasts like this one, probably less than, maybe about 5% of the whole movie-going audience watch shows like mine. Less than 5%. Less than 5% watch shows like mine. So no, what I do or don't talk about really doesn't influence how the box office does on a grand scale like that. It's certainly not going to swing the needle $60 million, you know what I'm saying? So, no, it's just a matter of what's appealing to people and what looks like it would appeal. And look, let's be honest. The trailers and the marketing campaign for Ready Player One looked bad. It didn't work. The trailers for Blade Runner 2049, I said 100 times, they blew the marketing on that because they never told the audience what the movie was about. They never once, go back and watch all those trailers for Blade Runner 2049. They never bothered to tell, they were so fucking arrogant. So we don't need to tell the audience what the movie's about. Just say Blade Runner and they'll come running to us. They can't pay for their tickets fast enough. They'll be so excited to see it. Just because we don't have to tell them what the movie's about. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And people didn't come. Ready Player One has a mediocre to poor marketing campaign. Audience didn't come. Mad Max Fury Road is not a movie that's going to appeal to a ton of people. That's just the reality of it. It's not going to appeal to a ton of people. To some of us that it does appeal to, we're going to really enjoy it, but it doesn't appeal to a ton of people. Has nothing to do with Marvel gets more spotlight. Marvel, you're putting the horse before the cart, or the cart before the horse in this case, because movies like the Marvel movies, the DC movies, the big blockbusters, they get more play on shows like mine and others because that's what everybody's going to see. It's not that everybody's going to go see them because my show is talking about them. No. It's just that I know more people watching my show are going to see one movie over the other, so I'll have to make sure I talk about these movies a little bit more. But, I mean, I talked till I was blue in the face about Ready Player One. But they hung themselves with a mediocre at best marketing campaign. Blade Runner 2049 totally shit the bed with a horrible marketing campaign, never ever bothering to tell the audience what the movie was even about. So frickin' arrogant, just thinking, we just have to put our name on it and people will come running to us. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. So I hope these types of movies like create object lessons for studios as they move forward. You've got to market your films properly. Curtis Lopez writes, I heard Cannes is notorious for audiences booing movies. I know film is subjective, but aren't the filmmakers and cast there during the screenings? It's still art. Show some manners and respect. I'm gonna disagree with you on that, Curtis. Look, one of the things I said a little bit earlier is this. If you are a paying audience member and you paid to come in and see a movie, then you have every right to cheer, clap, hoot and holler. You also have the right to boo or to sit silent or to brood, whatever. If you pay to go see some entertainment, you got the right to react to it. You don't got the right to go up and punch people in the face, but you have the right to react to it however you want to react. You want to cheer? That's your right. But if somebody's got the right to cheer, then somebody who also bought a ticket has the right to boo. It's harsh. It's harsh. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I mean, personally, if I'm sitting there, I wouldn't boo a film. There are many times I want to. I wouldn't do it, and clearly you wouldn't do it, but I will stand up for somebody's right to boo. You pay money to come in there, you've got the right to boo. And again, I won't do it, but I will defend the rights of people who do pay for their tickets to react positively or react negatively. So I'm going to disagree with you on that. I mean, you and me will be sitting in the chair together being quiet while everybody else is booing, but I mean, I will defend their right to boo if they so choose. All right. Chris Martin writes, would you consider doing Star Wars talk on Saturdays and taking Sundays off? I don't know. I think I'm more inclined to do it Sunday because if I'm going to take any days off, it might actually end up being Saturday because, and right now, as you guys know, I don't take any days off. I do shows 7 days a week. I took a day off the other weekend because it was my wife's birthday and I took her away for the weekend. But I think once I do get to a point that I take one day off, I think it'll probably be Saturday because that gives me Friday night I can get away. I got all Saturday, come back into town on Sunday and then be ready to go. So, I mean, I'll consider it, but right now I really think the best thing for me would be once I do start taking a day off, it'll probably make it Saturdays that I take off. Callis Menon writes, why does all the Infinity War marketing rely on nostalgia from the previous films? I don't get that at all. I mean, clearly you're seeing something like that, and that's cool, but I don't get that impression at all when I look at it. Well, they're showing Thor. Yeah, but that's because Thor's a main character in this movie. They're showing Iron Man. Well, because Iron Man's a key character in this movie. They're showing this. Well, yeah, but because it's like saying all the marketing on Return of the Jedi is basing it on nostalgia for the previous films. Like, no, it's just that it's the same cast, it's the same characters. It's the culmination of the story. Part of what Infinity War is not a standalone movie per se. Infinity War is the culmination of the story so far. So a lot of the marketing is going to be relying on the story so far because this is what we've been building up to. So I don't think it's a nostalgia play. It's just that's what's in this. That's what this movie is. So I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I don't see it that way because I think they're just marketing the movie for what it is. Josh Crichton writes, my question is, if you were in charge to make a movie about the death of Gail Miller, and the events after it, who would you cast to play David? Oh, David Milgard and David Miller. How would incorporated The Wheat Kings by Tragically Hip into the movie? Okay, oh my God, that's a deep cut. Okay, so bunch of years ago, forever ago. So there's this guy, David Milgard, who was convicted of murdering, I believe her name was Gail Miller. And I think it was like 20 years later, they realized that he didn't do it. So it's an infamous story. And I believe he got out. I believe he got compensated, whatever. But, I mean, there was this dude who got convicted, if I'm remembering it correctly. So, oh my God, Josh, that's a wild curveball. But let me see. If I were in charge to make the movie about the death game of the events after, who would I cast? I never take those questions. That's a dumb question. Which actor would you get to play role X? Whatever is a good actor. That's always my same answer. There's a million really talented actors out there. There's 1,000 really talented good actors out there, and any one of them I'm sure would be great. But yeah, I mean that's not a story I've thought about forever, man. That's a deep cut, Josh. Deep cut. Yolo Dwayne Fernandez, who writes, "Hey John, did you check out Gravity Falls yet?" Nope, probably won't be for a couple of months, to be honest with you. Chris Martin writes, "Finally seeing Ready Player One Sunday." Oh, good! I'm so excited that you haven't, that you're gonna go out there and see it, and I'm kind of envious you get to watch it for the first time. Make sure you drop a comment and let us know what you think of it when you do, because I love that movie. Let's see. Number Thor writes, "I've just seen The Last Jedi, and I was wondering, will that kid at the end with the broom be the main focus of a future movie?" No. Maybe that character as an adult will be the main character in the Rian Johnson trilogy. No. First of all, they've already said Rian Johnson's things is going to be something completely separate. So there's that. That little kid at the end was nothing more than kind of just showing us the Force is still at work in the galaxy. The Force is still doing what it has always done throughout the history of the galaxy. And as long as that still exists, there is hope always in the galaxy. And that was that. It wasn't setting up this kid's going to be the hero in the next movie. No, it was nothing like that. It was just showing us that the Force is still at work. You know, in the most unlikely of places, sometimes in the most unlikely of people, the Force is still at work. And while it is, there's always hope in the galaxy. And that's how I kind of took it in that. So, no, you're not going to see that kid as a main character or anything like that. And it certainly won't have anything to do with the Rian Johnson trilogy, because they've already said that's going to be something completely different. No, but it was a really cool thing. Like, I remember the first time we saw that movie, and he reaches out and the broom goes and everybody's like, whoa, wait a minute, did that just happen? It was a really cool little thing in there. But I think it was more of a symbolic thing for what's going on in the universe. It's not about this kid is going to become a key character in the universe. That's not the way I interpreted it at all. Let's see. Chris Martin writes, Hugh Jackman as the next Batman. That would be interesting. Just fun fan wants. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. If they announce next week that Hugh Jackman was going to be the next Batman, I mean, I think a lot of people would lose their minds. I think a lot of us would go absolutely crazy with excitement. However, Hugh Jackman is turning 50 years old. And if they want to go with a new franchise of Batman, you probably don't start a brand new Batman at 50. I'd be fine with it. I'd be totally fine with it. Just get Hugh Jackman in there, even if he only does 2 movies. Even if he only did 2 movies, I'd be totally down for it. Because you know me, I love the idea of the older, gristled, war-torn, jaded Batman. I love that idea. That's why, one of the reasons why I was so excited about Ben Affleck becoming the Batman that we just recently had. So I'd be cool with it, but the reality is they probably wouldn't do something like that because they probably wouldn't want to start a brand new Batman just at 50. That's just what I'm thinking. But hopefully I'm wrong. That would be awesome. Dakota Barber writes, Black Order member you think will be the strongest? Oh, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, they kind of suggest. Why am I freezing on his name? The dude that was torturing Doctor Strange. Why am I forgetting his name? Shh. He seems to be the most. Now you got the one dude who's really super massive and huge, but honestly, I don't know. I honestly don't know enough about them to really even have a legit opinion about it. But, we'll have to wait and see. Will they go obvious with the biggest guy, or will they go more subtle, like the one dude who's torturing Doctor Strange? We'll have to see. Let's see. Chris Martin writes, I know this didn't happen, but Hugh Jackman as Scar in Lion King would have been awesome. Yeah, so there was a fake story. This is a great example of this. Remember when the news started flying everywhere that Hugh Jackman had been cast as Scar? Here's how that story went. And this is why I always tell everybody, even as a film fan, when you read a story, track it back to its source. read the story and say, where did they get it from? Then go to that source. And if they've got a source, follow it to that source and see where it came from. What had happened was this little, and I don't mean any disrespect, okay? I mean this just literally. I mean no disrespect. I have no idea who runs this website, but it was a website. It was a buttfuck nobody website, right? Which is fine. I ran buttfuck nobody websites too. Nothing wrong with that. But it was an absolutely no-name website. Some little blog that nobody had ever heard of. And like there was a picture of Hugh Jackman at Disneyland. And this nobody ever heard of them website put, we hear that Hugh Jackman is going to be announced as Scar tomorrow. Well, then what happened? Screen Rant, which is a site that used to be fantastic when it was owned and operated by Vic Holterman. And they've kind of gone to petty clickbait shit ever since. But Screen Rant, who was always just looking for an excuse to run any headline, they saw that, and Screen Rant took that, and they ran a story, Hugh Jackman cast as Scar. And their source for it was this other little nothing nobody website that nobody had ever heard of, run by like probably 2 people and read by 5 people. But they wrote it, so Screen Rant took it, ran it, and it makes it sound like I'm sitting here trying to shit on Screen Rant. I'm not. But they ran this big headline, and so then other websites, Screen Rant's running this headline that Hugh Jackman's thing is Scar. So the other places start running with that headline. And all you had to do is just do one step of following down the path where it came from. And you realized, wait a minute, this is all coming from this little blog that nobody's ever heard of and nobody reads. And that's what you're basing this on? And sure enough, within about 24 hours, we found out that he was indeed not going to be Scar. But that's a great subject lesson in why I'm always telling my viewers that when you hear a story or read about a story, take a second and follow it, trace its source. See where is this website getting this from? And quite often, well, I mean, not quite often, but sometimes you'll find that, this is coming from nothing. This is coming from nothing. And then you can just disregard the story. But that was a great thing of it. But yes, Hugh Jackman as Scar would have been pretty damn good. That would have been fun. Chris writes, I work at Walmart and I get a lot of regular customers that know me pretty well. There's one that looks just like Hugh Jackman's old man Logan. I always say to them, hey Wolverine, how you doing? We always have great conversation. That's all. You know what? Let me tell you about a story that happened to me today. You just reminded me, Chris, of this story that happened to me today. A little bit earlier today, after I was done with the John Campea show, I ran out quick and did some errands. One of the errands was I had to go pick up the keys to mine and Ann's new place. We move into it in about a week and a half. But it's already empty, so they gave me the keys so I could go take some measurements. Anyway, that's a long story. So what happened was I thought, while I'm out and about in the car, I need a couple things from the grocery store. So I'm going to run over to the grocery store. I go over to the grocery store today, and I walk in, and I go over, the first thing I go for when I walk into the grocery store is those hand carts. Not a buggy, but the hand cart, the thing you carry around like a basket, right? The plastic basket. And there's this little old lady, couldn't have exceeded 4'5", right? This little old lady, and she's got one of those walkers with wheels, and she's going up to one of those motorized carts that if you're somebody that needs a little bit of help, a little bit of assistance, you can go into the grocery store and you can ride one of these motorized carts to go around and do your shopping. So she pulls her little walker with the wheels on it up to it. It's the kind of walker that's got a basket on top. It looked like she had a big bag in it. Anyway, I'm sorry, Chris, this story has nothing to do with your story. It's just a really cool interaction. So here's the thing. So this is just this afternoon. I walk in, there's this little old lady, little old push cart, about to try to get herself into this motorized cart. And it seemed like she was laboring a little bit and moving a little bit slow, right? So like anybody would do, I go up to her and I go, hey, excuse me, ma'am, can I offer you a hand? And she looks at me like mad. She looks at me like she's like, there's rage in her eyes. She turns to me and she goes, why, do I look helpless to you? And I go, and I just smile. I just smile at her, right? And I go, far from it, man. I said, as a matter of fact, I'm getting the feeling you're about to kick my ass. So she, what, do I look help Stu? Like, hell no. Like, it looks like you're about to kick my ass. And she looks at me and she goes, you're goddamn right. I'm trying so hard not to burst out, like, just in tears laughing about it. Because she was quick. Like, the moment, it was not a millisecond had passed that after I said, quite frankly, man, it looks like you're about to kick my ass. Like, half of a heartbeat, she goes, you're goddamn right. And I was just like, I'm thinking in my head, partially I'm terrified, but also in my head I'm thinking, this is my favorite woman in the world. I want to hang out with this woman. But anyway, like, after she says that, and I kind of grin, like, another half a heartbeat goes by, and she goes, can you put that bag in there? So she goes, sure. So I grab the bag out of her walker thing, put it on the front cart of the motorized thing. She looks back at me, she goes, thank you, son. And then she goes off. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? What just happened? It was like it was the best experience of my week. It may not sound like that good of a story, but I'm telling you, man, that was like the best thing I've had happen to me this week. I wanted to hang out with this lady the rest of the day. You goddamn right. Anyway, so I've been killing myself today. It's like, because Anne's not home. Anne's off at Hasbro headquarters in Rhode Island right now. She's off on another business trip. So I wanted to be like, who can I tell this story to? And then Chris, you brought this thing up about running into somebody in the store and having interactions, and it just totally cued the thing for me. So that was. Sorry, I totally went off on a tangent there, but I've been dying to tell somebody that story, and you reminded me about it. So, yes, anyway, that was my experience today at the grocery store. You never know what's going to happen at your local Ralph's. Okay, so next one comes to us from Iggy is Horrible. New t-shirt idea. He's Superman, you sons of bitches. Yeah, so we were talking about that. I'm sorry, I'm still kind of worked up thinking about this lady. So we were talking the other day about Supergirl and how the show Supergirl has just pissed me off. Like, that show can go burn in hell because of the way they disrespected Superman. They used Superman as a jobber on that. And then I said, he's Superman, you sons of bitches. You're right. That would make a good t-shirt. Oh my God. I'm still thinking about that lady. Okay. Matthew Ware writes, what if Infinity War had multiple endings / timelines and Avengers 4 ties them back together, like correcting the butterfly effect? Is that a stupid idea? It's not a stupid idea. My one hesitation about it, let's say we were sitting around in a Marvel boardroom and somebody at the table brings that idea. What I would say would be my hesitation is that might be a little too inside baseball kind of a thing for the general movie going on. That might be going a little too, like, meta, if you will. Maybe not. We've seen other movies do it, not necessarily hugely successful ones, but we've seen other films do it. So I'm not going to say it's a stupid idea. I don't know that I would do it, but it's not a dumb idea. It's not a dumb idea. I would be afraid there would be too many potential pitfalls with it. So I wouldn't greenlight it personally, but it would be something worth considering. So no, not a dumb idea at all. Adam Griffin writes, did Darth Vader know Owen and Beru were burned to death? Did he order it? If so, that's serious grudge holding for not saving Shmi from the Tusken Raiders. You know what? I've thought about that. I've thought about issues. Like, in the whole scheme of things, did Anakin, or Vader, did he know, Owen and Beru? First of all, did he know they were still alive? Did he know they were still down there? Did he know they were still on the farm or not? And all that kind of stuff. But, I mean, realistically thinking, it's a planet. It's a planet. Even though it's Tatooine, he's probably not thinking anything about Owen and Beru. So, no, he didn't order it. I mean, just that the stormtroopers are down there doing what stormtroopers do, trying to get information out of people, blah, 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 and probably killing them in the process. So, I've never thought that Vader was aware of it or ordered it. I've never thought that. However, it's not a far-fetched idea. So if someday in some special feature they say that George Lucas comes out and says, no, he knew it. Pardon me. Vader knew it, and he's actually the one who ordered the hit, if you will. I won't fall out of my seat with surprise, but I've never thought of it that way. Koba writes, Aquaman moved a week early in UK. Good sign Warner Brothers has more faith in it? No. 1 week, no. Just as if they had pushed Aquaman back 1 week, I would say that's not a sign that they don't have faith in it either. I mean, the movie's coming out. They fared might be a little bit better if we moved it up 1 week. Just like I said, what movie was recently moved 3 months? X-Men Dark Phoenix, right? Was recently moved 3 months. And I remember saying, like, look, it's just 3 months. That's really nothing to be concerned about. It's not like they have to remake the entire movie and they need that extra 3 months. Now, when they move it 6 months, 9 months, a year, something like that, that raises an eyebrow. But moving it 1 week back wouldn't have been a bad sign. Moving it 1 week up isn't necessarily a good sign either. So, no, I wouldn't see that as a good or a bad sign, either way. Mike Zambrano writes, did you hear John Krasinski explain the origin of the aliens in A Quiet Place? If so, what do you think about it? No, I did not. As a matter of fact, I didn't. So I can't comment on it. So no, I didn't hear him talk about that. Tony Bush writes, Peter Rice says deal should be done by next summer. I've been saying for 7 months, New Mutants will be the first MCU mutant movie as a mutant introduction. No, it won't. No, it won't. Because they're making. They would not have made, nor could they have made, a movie. And by the way, that's not for sure. The government can step in and do anything at any time. They can expect, remember, AT&T and Time Warner also expected their deal to be done by the end of 2017. And look what happened there, right? So anybody can say anything. We expect it to be, that's great. Anybody can expect anything. The reality is, if the government decides that there's an antitrust issue here, this thing could be dragged out a whole hell of a lot longer. But no, Fox did not make their New Mutants movie with the Disney deal in mind. That's not what it was done. That's not how it was done. That's not what it was for. And no, I don't see that being the case. I really don't. Matthew Ware writes, over under 15%, Kree Supreme Intelligence is in Captain Marvel. I'll go the over. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it will. I'm not even thinking it's probable that it will. Like, I wouldn't say 50%, but if you're going to go at 15% that low, yeah, I think there's look, with something like Captain Marvel, there's a lot of options on the table. There's a lot of options on the table that they can go with creatively and some really interesting different things they can try doing. And on that basis alone, even something like this, at 15%, I'll take the over. Tony Bush writes, Marshala Ali too old for a Blade franchise? Oh, how old is he? Let me just look this up. He's 49. I don't think so. I mean, let's put it this way. He's way closer. He's at a way better age than Wesley Snipes is, because Wesley Snipes is like 11 years older than that. Not that I would be dead set against Wesley Snipes doing it either, but I don't think he's too old. 44? I think at 44 you could do it. Because that gets you, like, for instance, we were just talking about Hugh Jackman, but Hugh Jackman's turning 50. I mean, that gives him 6 years on Jackman. Plus, you know, with a character like Blade, there's different things you can do. I wouldn't say he's too old. He's getting close. I think he's getting close to being too old, but no, I wouldn't say he's too old. The number Thor writes, over under 40%, that near the end of the Fantastic Beasts franchise, we see a teenage Voldemort or even Harry's parents. Your thoughts? Oh, I don't know. You're talking 4 films from now, so who the hell knows? I mean, I can't even venture a guess. Can't even venture a guess. Who knows where we're going to be just after this movie or what they decide. And by the way, who's to say they're going to finish this franchise? I mean, the first one did pretty well, but not as well as they were hoping. What happens if this movie comes out and it's kind of a little bit of a flop? We're not going to see the rest of the movies. So let's take a breath. But again, you're getting way ahead of yourself. We're not even talking about the next movie. Like, first of all, we got a movie coming out, and then if everything goes according to plan, they've got like 4 more to go or something like that. I can't even remember. But it's way too ahead. I can't even begin to speculate on something like that. Darth Impact writes, this is just for being my favorite movie pundit. You're a positive slice of heaven on YouTube. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you so much. I mean, besides the fact when I'm saying Supergirl can go burn in hell, when I'm not doing, then I'm not so positive. But Thank you so much, Darth Impact. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you being such an active member of our big little film fan community here. So thank you so much for that. I mean, I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. Adam K writes, how much does Ready Player One have to do to justify a sequel? Well, I mean, to justify a sequel, anything. I mean, Warner Brothers, like, it's already made over 400 million, right? Let me pull up the exact number here. I know it's over 400 million. Let's see, Ready Player One box office. It is now sitting at just over 400 million. Okay, so to justify it, Warner Brothers could do one, even at 400 million. Even at 400 million, they could justify it. The real question that most people seem to be asking is, how much money does it need to make to almost kind of force Warner Brothers? I mean, how much money would it have to make to the point where Warner Brothers would have to justify not doing a sequel? Because you can justify doing a sequel even now if you wanted to. You can make an argument that the critics loved it, the fans really liked it, it's at least getting close to breaking even. It'll probably end up making a little bit of money. So that combined with the fact that everybody seemed to love it, there's positive momentum for doing a sequel, you could do it, you could justify doing it. But what the question that most people are really asking is, what kind of dollar figure needs to be there in order for Warner Brothers to have to justify not doing it? And we're nowhere near that number. I say the number comes in at probably around 750 million. I think if Ready Player One had the kinds of legs, and it's not going to, but if it had the kind of legs that it could get to something like a $750 million, I think at that point, Warner Brothers is almost feeling like, we got to do another one. But with the money they're making right now, they're not in that position. They're certainly not in the position where they're thinking, we got to make another one. Once you get over 700, between 700 and 800 million, then those discussions probably start happening about, we really need to make another one of these. But they're not at that dollar figure right now. And they probably won't get to that dollar figure. So the ball will be in their court. It'll be a discretionary call for Warner Brothers at that point, whether to do it. I hope they do one. I think there's enough there to justify doing it, but certainly not enough that says you gotta do it. You know what I mean? So they're still a long ways away from that. Harris writes, I know you didn't like the Attack on Titan manga, but how did you get into it? Did you watch the anime and got super sweaty and that you needed more? I love it. Well, I started reading the graphic novels. I mean, I started reading the individual trade paperbacks. And I quite liked it. The animated one, though, I don't know why, it didn't quite work for me. It didn't quite work for me. I think we've still got about like a bunch of the trade paperbacks around here somewhere. But yeah, just for whatever reason, the animated one, it felt lifeless to me. The animated one felt really lifeless. And I felt no depth to any of the characters. I didn't care about any of the characters. Whereas on the printed page, I did. So, I mean, I can't explain that. That's just my reaction to it. So anyway, that's just kind of my thoughts on that. Sorry guys, this happens sometimes. I got to go back. Okay, here we go. Rec Cruz writes, what does Recruz write? Recruz writes, Thanos always had Soul Stone. Possible thoughts. Yeah, but like I said, I don't care where the Soul Stone is. I really don't. I don't even want to spend much of my time theorizing about it. I know a lot of you guys are. That's great. But for me, it's completely contextless, so I don't really care. But yes, that is a viable option. I don't know how they would explain it, but it is certainly a viable option. Absolutely it is. The number Thor writes, what is your favorite alcoholic beverage? I basically don't drink. I don't like the taste of alcohol. So on the rare occasion, you'll see me maybe with a drink in my hand, but that's just to be social. Honestly, when I'm sitting at home alone, I never drink. Like, I just don't like the taste of alcohol. That's just it. I have no moral problem with drinking. Don't get me wrong. I just don't like the taste of alcohol. So when I do drink, I am a proud girly drinker, my friends. Once in a while, I will enjoy the cool, refreshing taste of a good Smirnoff Ice. That's right, a good Smirnoff Ice. Sometimes at the poker tables, because they bring you free drinks. When you're playing poker in Vegas, it doesn't matter if it's a $15 drink. You get free drinks all night. You just order a new drink. They'll bring you another drink. I have been known from time to time to partake of a Mike's Hard Lemonade. And then when it comes to real alcoholic beverages, the one drink I will order from time to time, special occasions, something like that, is I will order myself an amaretto sour. And that's kind of my drink. So yeah, so basically never. I basically never drink, but on the rare occasions you might get the rare glimpse of John Campea with an alcoholic beverage in his hand. 9 times out of 10, it'll be a Smirnoff Ice, a Mike's Hard Lemonade, or perhaps, on those lucky days, an amaretto sour. Let's see. Brian Esparza writes, thoughts on Joaquin Phoenix as an actor? Oh, he's tremendous. He's a tremendously gifted actor. A little bit of a screwball, but he's a tremendously gifted actor. I mean, that's why, like, so many of us were so excited when we thought he was going to be Doctor Strange. Don't get me wrong, Benedict did great in it, and I'm super happy he was our Doctor Strange, but a lot of us were very excited about the notion of Phoenix being Doctor Strange, and a lot of us are very excited about the notion that he might be playing the Joker, that he might actually play an incarnation of the Joker. It's got a lot of people excited. He's phenomenal. He's world-class, absolutely world-class. Recruits writes, I keep forgetting to say thanks. So thanks, John. You don't owe me nothing. But I appreciate, thank you for your good manners, but you owe me nothing. You don't owe me a thanks. Thank you so much for saying it, though. Randall Cartwright writes, were you ever a Lost fan? Yeah, I was late to the party, but a couple of seasons into Lost, I binged and got caught up. And where the show lost me, where the show lost me, I'll always remember the one episode that lost me. And that was the episode, the flashback episode explaining the origins of the black smoke monster. And him and Jacob. And to me, that ruined a lot of the whole mystique of Lost for me. And I didn't mind the final season. I mean, I hated the ultimate, like, they were dead all along. Like, I didn't like that, but whatever. But up until that one episode, I was a really big fan of the show. And then that episode happened, and I just like, this one episode kind of ruined this show for me. So now when I think back on Lost, I just think about everything before that episode, and I feel happy. Let's see. Oh my gosh, we've already been at this like 45 minutes. Okay. Adil Hassan writes, hey John, a bit of info. Matt Reeves is definitely doing the Batman movie. His tweet on March 1st, a thumbs up and a bat. He's working on it under wraps. Yeah, okay, that's wonderful. But he's been putting out social media messages and stuff like that for like 6 months. Where is it? Where is it? And don't misinterpret me. I am not saying he's not doing it. Not by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not saying that. But I'm also saying that Matt Reeves putting out little tweets here and there says nothing. Because he's been putting out these positive messages for 6, 7, 8 months, and we are still here with no idea of, as far as I know, he hasn't turned in a treatment. There's certainly not a script yet. We have no date, we have no actor, we have no anything, and they announced him as the director a year ago. So, while I do believe we are going to get a Matt Reeves Batman, I am not going to be moved by him putting out a social media message. Because I've seen him put out social media messages for months and months and months and months. With all these positive affirmation messages that we've run headlines on and stuff like over the past year. And here we are still with nothing. So he can put out 5 tweets a day for all I care. None of it is going to impress me. I will get impressed when we actually hear Warner Brothers say, we've scheduled a date, we've got our Batman, we've locked our script, blow. Then I will get happy, and then I will get excited. Until that happens, he can tweet till his fingers fall off. I'm not going to be moved by it, because we've been playing this game for a year and we still have nothing. Once we get to that point, that hey guys, we've got a script locked, we're scheduling the beginning of production, we're securing a release date, and here's our new Batman. Then I will start to get excited. Once that happens. Till then, he can tweet whatever he wants. He put out messages, no, I'm still on Batman doing it, and then 7 months pass and still nothing. So we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. I will get happy and party with you when we get something firm. Randall Cartwright writes, how do you make an ice cube that big for your glass? Oh yeah, like, well, it's actually shrunk a bit now. Yeah, I have giant ice cubes. I have really giant ice cubes. I love giant ice cubes. They last longer. They make your drink colder, blah, 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 blah. I actually specifically bought. What happened was we were at a club in Las Vegas. And I remember when they brought me my Diet Coke, which is what I'm normally ordering at clubs. When they brought me my Diet Coke, it had this massive ice cube in it. I'm like, I want massive ice cubes. And so the first massive ice cube maker I got was a Death Star. I've got a Death Star ice cube mold. So it makes round ice cubes with all the etchings and the design of a Death Star on it. It's pretty awesome. The only down part is I can only make one at a time. But then I found this specialized ice cube tray that makes giant ice cubes. And I bought me one of those. So that's how I get the giant ice cubes. Interesting question. I'm actually really happy that you noticed because I love my giant ice cubes. So it makes me all happy that you noticed it. Thank you. Evan Jenkins writes, what's the 5% chance of Luke being alive? The 5% chance is I think there's a 5% chance. Look, at the end of the movie, again, 5% chance means I'm saying there's a 95% chance he's dead. But the end of the movie comes and he just disappears. Nothing killed him. He just disappears. Now, traditionally, in Star Wars movies, that's kind of been a visual cue of a Jedi dying. We saw it happen to Obi-Wan. We saw it happen to Yoda. Didn't see it happen with Qui-Gon Jinn, but whatever. So yes, there is that. There's precedent. That's why I'm saying 95% chance he's dead. But if JJ wanted to, there's enough, to me, ambiguity there that Luke just did. First of all, we just saw Luke do this incredible demonstration of power with the whole projection across the galaxy. What's to say he doesn't just teleport himself somewhere or disappear into the Force only to reemerge out of the Force later? All I'm saying is that there is a small, however unlikely, chance that JJ could very easily say Luke didn't die. Luke is still alive and bring him back for episode 9. I am certainly not saying that is what is happening. I believe it's 95% certainty that he's dead, but I believe there's enough subtle ambiguity there that if JJ wanted to say, I still want to use Luke Skywalker, I've got this great idea for Luke, a living Luke in my thing, there's plenty of ways to explain him still being alive. Teleporting, maybe just immersing himself into the Force and then to reemerge out of the Force later. I mean, there's different things he could do. So that's why I say that I think there's a 5% chance of him being alive. Okay. Junkari P writes, Brad Pitt's best movie. Okay. I'd have to look at a list of Brad Pitt movies. Off the top of my head, I'd say it probably comes down to either 7 or 12 Monkeys. Oh, no, screw that. Screw 7 and 12 Monkeys. What am I thinking? Snatch. Snatch is his best movie. I know there are other people who prefer 7 or 12 Monkeys, and that's great. I'm not going to argue with you. But Snatch is one of my all-time favorite movies. And where he speaks pikey, and Pitt is so good in that movie. So yeah, I'll go Snatch. Did you go to college to get a degree? Well, I went to a couple colleges. I went to Bible college and seminary. Got my stuff there. And then I went to Niagara College to take paralegal studies. And I took paralegal studies there. And I started going to university. And I started interning for law school. And I started doing a placement in this, first a real estate law place. And then I was working in a personal litigation law firm and doing just legal research at a litigation law firm. And then my friends held what I call the intervention, this famous day where a couple of friends of mine took me out to lunch and said, I was just doing my little movie blog as a hobby, and I got my first Google ad check for $400. And my friends pulled me aside and said, John, this is what really makes you happy. Quit your job and do your blog full time. And that's what I did. And the rest is history. John De Silva writes, Leafs in 6 over Boston. I wish. I'm guessing Boston in 7, but here's hoping you're right. Ryan Gosper writes, I read an article that the Russo brothers were in an interview teasing about Steve Rogers possibly being Nomad in Infinity War. Any validity? Well, I mean, it's valid that they did tease it, but it doesn't mean the teases that it's actually happening. The Russo brothers have teased several things over the years that weren't actual things. That's why they call it teasing. So yeah, they teased. They're on a couple of occasions they've teased Nomad. Maybe they could say he changes his name to Nomad. It's totally possible. Like, remember, we see Steve Rogers with the star in his chest kind of blacked out, right? So it could be that he has rejected the name Captain America. It's possible. But it's also very possible that that's not the case. So we're just going to have to wait to see Infinity War. But there is validity to it because it is something they have teased. However, the Russo brothers have been known to tease things that would never actually happen. So we'll have to see how that all works out. Just a couple minutes left here. Cobra writes, if Rampage bombs, does it spell trouble for King Kong versus Godzilla? Giant ape and lizards fighting don't sell tickets. Well, I don't know, because Rampage is such a fundamentally different movie than what King Kong is. And it's marketed as a completely fundamentally different movie. I mean, it's marketed as a silly, kind of dumb, over the top, look, you're not going to get a trailer for King Kong where another guy's choking another guy out and going, just go with it. It's a really big arm. Just go with it. Like, you're not going to see that in King Kong, right? So while they both have giant apes, pretty much the similarities there end. So here's what I would say. If Rampage does 60 million opening weekend, I don't think that bodes well for King Kong. If it opens to $10 million opening weekend, I don't think that bodes badly for King Kong. I just think, besides the fact that they're giant apes, there's really nothing else remotely similar between the films, and they're going to be marketed completely differently, and I think they will, by the audience, be seen as completely different projects. So if it does great, I don't think that means good things for King Kong. If it does badly, I don't think that means bad things for King Kong. I really see them being as divorced from each other. Interesting that Koba is asking me movies about apes. I can see your bias there, Koba. I can see your bias. Let's see. Era Olson writes, John, I think Dwayne has been exposed to Toretto syndrome after Fast 5. After watching Rampage today, I think he will walk out of the wreckage, skyscraper movie, with a nitrogen tank and say, I'll need it to survive the next Fast and Furious. I don't think so, because when I watch Dwayne Johnson, one of the things I really like about Dwayne Johnson in movies is that his character is not all powerful. He's willing to have, even in movies that he's like the big dog, right? He's willing in his movies that his character will take a beat down sometimes. That's not Dominic Toretto. Dominic Toretto can fight King Kong blindfolded with his hands tied behind his back, and Dominic Toretto still wins the fight, right? And that's one of the things, and I love the Fast and Furious franchise, but that is one of the things that kind of drives me nuts about it, is that Dom Toretto can be dropped in the middle of the ocean with Jaws, Meg, and the shark from Deep Blue Sea, and within 3 minutes, Dominic Toretto will have killed all 3 sharks. Because that's Dominic Toretto. He is completely invincible. Nothing can touch him. And I don't think that Toretto or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson suffers from that, because I see him willing to make his character human, that he can take a beating, that, all that kind of stuff. So that's why I kind of really, I don't think that's a danger there. Andrew Lee writes, thoughts on Tootsie? Oh my God, I love Tootsie. I always forget to mention it when asked about my favorite comedies. P.S. Schedule yourself a day off. Even God has a day of rest. Yeah, top 10 comedy of all time. Easily. I do not think you can have a discussion about top 10 comedies without Tootsie being in there. Like Dustin Hoffman, Terry Garr. I mean, it's just, it was so great. And I still remember, because I was really young, but I remember there even being debates about, should Dustin Hoffman be considered for Best Actress? I mean, it was so funny. And you know what? It has aged so well. Even though that movie comes from a completely different era, that movie has aged so well. If you have never seen, you know what? About 3 years ago, they did a special screening of Tootsie at a local theater here at the ArcLight Cinemas in Hollywood. And they had a special Q&A with Dustin Hoffman after the screening, and it was wonderful. It's the first time I had ever seen Tootsie on the big screen. And if you've never seen Tootsie, guys, watch Tootsie. It is hilarious. It's smart. Just watch it. It's an incredibly great comedy. And like I said, it's aged very well. Juna Chuomogia writes, thoughts on Prestige and the twist at the end. I've talked about this before. I love The Prestige. I am not a fan of the twist at the end. It actually kind of soured my feelings. To be honest with you, the first time I saw The Prestige, and that ending happened, it kind of soured my experience with the whole movie. Now, I watched it again, and then I was able to kind of separate out the ending and just appreciate the 9/10 of the movie that I think are great. Wonderfully directed, deep story, real human emotion in there. This great rivalry between these two fabulous actors. It's a great movie. I do not like the ending. So when I kind of think about The Prestige, I just forget about the ending. Dominic Suma writes, was watching the Red Sox-Yankee game last night, go Yankees, and Bob Costas was calling the game. I sometimes forget how good he is. Truly the GOAT. He is amazing. And you know what? Bob Costa in sports broadcasting is kind of like Spielberg in this way. He's so good, and we just take for granted that he's so good, that we take for granted that he's so good. We so take for granted how good he is that we take for granted how good he is. And we just expect him, of course, I mean, that's Spielberg. Of course, that's Costa. When you really stop and think about it, Bob Costas might be the greatest of all time. He really may be the GOAT. And it's always a pleasure watching him talking sports. It's always a pleasure. All right. The number Thor writes, is there anybody in the division today that you think would have a legit chance of beating Khabib? I think Holloway has a chance. Now, Holloway's not in his division, but if he wanted to, I think Holloway has a chance, but I mean, no. I mean, really, the answer to that is no. There is nobody in the lightweight division. Look, the thing about MMA is that anybody can beat anybody on any given day. Like when we saw Matt Serra beat George St. Pierre, that kind of signaled, hey, look, anybody can beat anybody on any given day. Right? You land the right punch, you get lucky with a certain takedown, you clip a guy just the right way, blah, blah. I mean, that's the beautiful thing. So sure, Khabib could lose, yes, but it would have to be a fluke. Khabib right now is an absolute monster. And I remember talking to some people about, because Khabib just won the title, went the distance. He didn't finish the guy. And people saying, oh, Khabib didn't finish him. Is Khabib human after all? And it's like, are you kidding me? This was a guy coming off a 5-fight win streak. The guy Khabib was fighting. A 5-fight win streak, won 8 out of his last 9. He's the number 11 ranked lightweight in the world. And this is the guy that Khabib totally bitched him for 5 rounds. Just owned this kid for 5 rounds. Never was there a microsecond that Khabib was ever in trouble. And he was just laying a beating on this kid for 5 rounds. Dude won 5 fight in a row, number 11th ranked lightweight in the world, and he didn't even break a sweat practically. So no, he is, I don't see anybody in that division that can beat him. Not even Conor McGregor, who I hope is never allowed to fight again in the UFC. And I was a big fan of his, but even Conor McGregor. Conor will not be able to stand up to Khabib. Unless Khabib was stupid and decided to get in a striking match with Conor. Other than that, he will tear Conor McGregor to the ground and he will beat him senseless. And that's just how it's going to go. Edgar 1028 writes, can't wait to watch Infinity War in Dolby Prime. Damn right. Here at AMC Tyler in Riverside. Prime over IMAX in my opinion. Me too. And you know what? I go to that AMC quite a bit. You will quite often. Granted, it's probably been maybe about 2 months since I've been there, but I have gone many, many times to the AMC Tyler in Riverside because Anne's family lives in Corona, only about a 10-minute drive away from the AMC Riverside. And so I have spent many, many days at the AMC Riverside. So if you're ever around there, take a look around. You might see me there because I like that theater a whole hell of a lot. I've never been to the AMC Prime at it, though. Never been to the AMC Prime in that theater. Flick Talk writes, so much respect for you and your hustle. What camera do you use? What do you recommend I get for a show like this that costs $200 or less? Okay, well, oh my gosh, and we've already gone over an hour. Okay, guys, sorry, this will be the last question I take today. I have a couple of cameras. One camera that I really recommend, if you really want a cheap camera, I cannot recommend enough the Logitech C20. a C920, I should say. It's a little webcam, right? Just a little webcam. Will run you about $60, maybe $70. You could probably find it for pretty cheap on Amazon. It is a great camera. When I was at the last place I worked at, and I used to do the show Mailbag on my own, the camera I used was this little $65 Logitech C920 web camera. It gets a wonderful image, a really beautiful image. Now, I do this thing, I use better cameras right now. There's a couple of cameras I use. The one I'm using right now is the Canon 7D Mark II. The 7D Mark II is the camera that I use. It's a DSLR. I've got a really nice lens on it, as you can tell. It's a beautiful image. The one drawback with the Canon 7D Mark II is that it has this weird little built-in thing. Right, every once in a while during open mic, you see me do this. The reason I do that is because if I don't hit the trigger button, every 30 minutes, the camera automatically shuts off. The image shuts off. And that's just something, there's no getting around it. That is just something that's built into the Canon 7D Mark II. That is the one drawback with this camera. Now, actually, I'll show you something here. I got another camera, also from Canon. Marvelous piece of hardware. This is a 4K. Don't let the size of this camera fool you. This is the Canon XC15, all right? It is a 4K camera, beautiful image. It does not have an interchangeable lens like the 7D does. And like I said, I really like the lens on the 7D. But it is primarily a video camera, so it doesn't have that 30-minute limit, where if I forget to hit the trigger button, the camera turns off. Now, this camera, I think, will run you about a little under $3,000. However, it also comes with a built-in attachment. This comes with it. A lot of times you have to pay extra for this. It comes with this built-in attachment so you can actually plug in external microphones. It is a wonderful little device, and I use it sometime for my green screen stuff and other stuff. I'm going to use it more as I go on. You can probably get a Canon 7D Mark II used probably for under $1,000 if you wanted to. But if you're looking for under $200, my best recommendation is this little webcam called the Logitech C920. It will serve you well. Now, you still got to think about lighting. You still got to think about audio. There's many, many other things you got to consider. But in a fix, Logitech C920. It's my hearty recommendation. All right, guys. That's all the time I've got for today. For those of you who sent in questions after Flick Talk, don't worry. I'm going to copy all the questions that you guys have sent in, and I'm going to add them to the document for tomorrow morning's. It will be posted up at like 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Tomorrow morning's companion video. So your questions will get asked on the show. It'll be in the companion video that'll go up first thing tomorrow morning. So don't worry. If you sent in a question, it will be addressed. I promise you that. All right, guys. That will do it for me for now. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is John Campea, and until the next video, you're goddamn right.